Welcome back. This is Through It All. This is where we receive people from all different cultures sharing their lives, their testimonies, what their stories, some of them, difficult, challenging situations of life that they have come through. But they share with us just to encourage us, to encourage you. That's why we bring this program to you, that no matter where you are, like, Katrina said earlier that nothing is just happens. It's not by accident. When they talked about, Ted being adopted and all that. So welcome back. Karibu. I hope you're enjoying your time in Kenya.
Absolutely.
Very much.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, you told us before we took a break, you have decided, no matter what, people may have different opinions, but we are getting married. We love each other. Different. In Kenya, we handle a lot of tribal differences. And there are people, especially the older generation, they don't allow even their children to get married to different other tribes and all that. So we understand what you're talking about.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you overcame that, and now comes the wedding. You're just coming from college. Was it expensive having this wedding?
Yeah. Well, fortunately for us, it wasn't very expensive because if you go to New College, like Katrina did, you could use the chapel. I could have used the chapel at my college. It wasn't nearly as nice as her chapel. So,
Okay.
So we didn't have to pay for the venue. So all we had to pay for was basically the reception, so some food and things like that.
For the guests.
And then, of course, my family and friends had to fly over from the United States.
Yeah.
And many of them were just very generous to buy the tickets and come over. So there was some expense involved. Fortunately, between Katrina's parents and my parents, they were able to sort of contribute and make that happen.
For the reception.
So, yeah, we feel very blessed for them being able to do that.
That's good. So how long did you stay in the UK before now you relocated to the US?
Since after we were married in April, and then we left, both of us finished our courses, and we left for the U.S. in October.
Okay.
So we only lived together after we were married in England for what would that be?
A couple of months.
Yeah,
And I was-
5 months or so.
Yeah. You were actually, your course took longer to finish. That's why we stayed.
I had to finish.
I was finished in June, July, and then I did some tutoring through the summer, and I worked for a local theatre company that was doing outdoor Shakespeare.
Okay.
And so I definitely took advantage of the time that I had. That was one of the most amazing experiences, to work with a real Shakespeare theatre company, performing A Midsummer Night's Dream right on the bend of one of the tributaries of the Thames in the college gardens of Magdalen College. It was really
Wow.
I love working in theatre. It's something I still do.
Oh, you do. Are you even today?
I work with kids at my kids' school. I've been involved in producing and directing shows at the school.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how was it for you, Katrina, especially now you are relocating from a very different culture to a very different culture in US? Was it hard for you settling down in the US?
There were some challenges. The first even was the climate, because you're going from the UK with 4 very distinct seasons. California has, not so much distinct seasons, a little more similar to here. And I remember just missing winter, which is he thinks I'm crazy. I still love winter. In fact, now we live on the East Coast. He can't stand the winter. I do actually. I love getting all wrapped up and cozy and having the fire on.
I don't like winter.
I don't like winter either.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I think perhaps for me it's a nostalgia.
Yeah.
But so the climate was different. And of course, people would say, well, you're crazy. Why didn't you just love the climate? But what was amazing about being in California, I started teaching immediately in a new Christian school, Oaks Christian, which is in the border of Westlake and Thousand Oaks in Southern California.
It's a high school?
It was a middle school and high school.
Okay.
And it was started by a couple of families. And in fact, Ted's father also was involved in giving some money to the church right there and this school. The school now is 25 years old. It just celebrated its 25th anniversary. I'm on the board of trustees now at the school. Even though I'm not living in California anymore, I taught there for 5 years. So I helped to build the English curriculum at the time. I couldn't be more delighted with what Oaks Christian has become right there in the Conejo Valley. And honestly, I call it in the belly of the beast because you've got Hollywood, further south, you've got just this, it looks very affluent, right? Extremely affluent community, but a lot of kids with just souls that are just starving.
Wow. What's the disconnect? I mean, because you're saying they may have a lot of money, but
it's the same problems, whether you have lots of money or not, they still go through the same problems. They're just, maybe they manifest slightly differently. But the kids, they still suffer from broken homes. They still suffer from all of the pressures and, the difficulties, especially since that time with social media and, just all of the aspects. Social media is great, and it's a way that people can communicate. But on the other hand, it's a venue for causing, pressure for young children as far as not only behaviors that might not be, that might be destructive for their life, but also just anxiety about themselves and their appearance and whether or not they're living up to this picture of what they need to be living up to.
I know a lot of young people watching us right now, mentioning social media. It's become like, everywhere. And it's sometimes it's good, like you're saying, it's also causing a lot of trouble. What would you tell somebody? How should we handle social media? I mean, if you can give a word of advice, any one of you.
I mean, I could give a word about our own children, is that we understand that the cell phone is something you can't escape from. You can't bury your head in the sand, that it is a means of communication, especially now that we don't have the house phone anymore, the main line. This is important. But you don't have to make that phone with full capability of social media. So, for example, when our eldest daughter turned 13, we allowed her to have a phone, but she did not have social media. And we said, the phone is ours. We're paying for it. This is the contract we have with you. We made a contract. And she signed that contract.
No social media.
You breach this contract, your phone goes away.
Okay.
And so since then, as they grow older and more mature and they have more ability to handle the pressures and things, then they've been able to get more and more access. And so now our oldest, because of her job, needs to have social media, and so she has it, and that's okay. But she's older now, and she's been able to grow up and become more mature. I think and then of course we only have daughters. We have 3 daughters. But there's other factors if you have sons and the information that they're exposed to, and it's a challenge. So my encouragement would be that, especially when they're young, that it doesn't have to be 100% or nothing. That they can be given limited access, supervised access, and then as they learn to deal with the pressures and the challenges of social media, they can be given more and more ability to access it.
But it should not be unfettered. Just teaching wisdom. Just as now we've got kids in school, and now we have to teach them wisdom with regard to AI and plagiarism, right? But there are new temptations every day.
Every day.
And so we have to stay one step ahead and guard our children's hearts and minds because they are going to be tempted just as we are. And so it's keeping the conversation going at home and always talking about it, being open. Praise God that our girls are very open with us. We have a dinner table conversation.
Tell us more about your children. Now that how many children?
I taught in California for 5 years. Before we always said we'd be married 5 years and then we'll start a family. And that's, thank you to God. That's what happened.
Wow.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we got married young, and so we were able to not have pressure to have
having children. So you decided you wait for 5 years. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and many things were happening career-wise for him, but we were pregnant and moved to the Netherlands, and I actually had Clara, our firstborn, in the Netherlands.
Netherlands.
Which, when you move to the Netherlands,
Huh.
I was 7.5 months pregnant.
Yeah.
It was quite
Maybe not
late
the
on.
ideal time to move your wife
No.
all the way to another country.
But I always
couldn't help it.
I'm always up for the adventure.
What
and-
are you doing in Netherlands?
Well,
I was
for his
working
work.
it was for my job.
For
we
your
got-
job. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so I'm reading up about having a baby in the Netherlands. It's like, okay, it's all natural. No painkillers. No. Oh. Okay, so we're doing this.
So
So
Okay.
So that was
It's the first one, so you have.
Yeah.
We don't know what to expect.
we didn't know anything. I
Okay.
mean, maybe that was good because we didn't have any.
Yeah,
We didn't know
yeah.
any better, right? And so, but actually, I mean, to be fair, the Netherlands was not a bad place to have our first two were born there.
because they don't treat pregnancy like it's a condition to be afraid of. It's like a natural thing, and so it's like, it doesn't mean that you have a problem.
You're not
necessarily.
ill. You're pregnant. That's natural.
So they actually do home births and things. We did elect for a hospital birth, but it was like, I mean, won't go into details. It was a very difficult first birth, but still, a few hours later, they packed us home, and we were back in the. We're back at house. Holding this baby, like, what do I do now?
Like 6
I'm
hours
not
later.
able to move because it had been like 20 hours of really awful labor.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah.
New experience.
And
yeah?
so my mom, see, this is where the Lord was so kind because mom got on a train. She's in England.
Okay.
She got on a train over under the channel and then another train, and she was with us within 24 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, much
Wow.
more.
Mom was there.
Good support, yeah?
Yeah,
She knows what
much
to
easier.
do and she can give all the advice.
Yeah, and she was able to also help me through like the trauma I had gone through, which
Yeah.
was extreme.
How old is Cleo now?
She's 19.
19.
Yeah.
She's the older one.
She's the
And then
oldest,
you have how many others?
We have two more. We have Chloe, who's 16,
16.
and Abigail, who's 12.
So 19,
Yep.
16, 12.
And they're all here with us. In
All
in-
right.
Yeah, they're here.
Okay. Beautiful.
Chloe was also born in the Netherlands.
Chloe was born there.
Okay.
Abigail was born in Maryland, in America.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. So you're now here raising children, work based. So being a teacher, how is it teaching in the US? I mean, like you're talking of phones and social media.
Yeah.
Are children allowed to, or what age do they allow them even to bring a phone in school?
Yeah, well, so initially, schools were not aware of really the danger. I think so many people weren't really aware of what was happening to children.
Yeah.
It's only through COVID, and now you've got these books, The Anxious Generation. There's all these books now being written about why is this generation so anxious, and they're realizing it's the phone. They're connected more and more to so much in the world. They know
Wow.
they know too much.
Yeah.
And they have too much of this kind of they're processing themselves through the visual image of themselves.
Yeah.
They're projecting, and it's all about projecting the self that they want to project to the outside world, and they're losing touch with what's real inside of them.
Yeah.
And anyway, so all of this is causing a great deal of problem with anxiety, etc.
Yeah.
I believe it is a universal thing. This is
It
not
is.
just America. I know
It's
it's
in
happening
Kenya.
in the
Oh,
UK.
yeah, it's in Kenya.
Yeah. So schools are catching on, and schools now have phone policies. So, for example, I mean, and I can only speak for the private schools because I do work in the private Christian schools.
Okay.
But phones are now not allowed on visibly on campus during the school day. So, at our girls' school, for example, they're locked away in the locker all day.
Okay.
And there's no phone on the campus until you're outside and making a call to mom or dad or something like that.
Okay.
And,
so that's
and
how
even
you
the
do
state
it.
schools in America
beginning.
are
They're
going that
beginning.
way. They're starting to
Okay.
go that
They're
way.
beginning to
I
go.
think that's a good thing. Yeah.
I think it is. And, COVID with everybody being home and being forced online and being forced, to do school online and everything, I think it caused a problem in that everybody became more and more reliant on their digital devices. And so then when school started opening back up, everybody just brought their phones in, and that really now schools are seeing that wasn't a good thing.
Yeah,
And so
Now, changing gears here. Now, 25 years of marriage from that 3 minutes meeting and dancing and all that. So, and biking. Do you still bike?
Not really. I did in the Netherlands because everyone
Netherlands,
bikes. So
everybody
I have one of the baskets on the front of my bicycle
Okay.
where the baby goes.
Okay.
And I put a little helmet on her. It's just like all the other Dutch ladies.
Oh, maybe you need to go back to biking.
I know. It's not as safe in Annapolis. Where
no,
we live.
in Maryland you're gonna
The
get run over.
bike, well, the bike lanes aren't as wide.
Okay.
Yeah, or just aren't there at all.
It's safer in Kenya. You can do it in Kenya.
I don't know. I want to cycle in Nairobi.
Maybe not.
Now, how has it been? I mean, looking back 25 years from this time you met as young people, 20, 22, 19-year-old, and how has it been? How has the journey? What kept you going? Are there challenges you have been able to overcome?
Yeah, I think well, speaking for myself, I don't know, maybe you
That's
should
right.
maybe I should step out. You could ask
She
her.
will tell us her
Right.
story.
Yeah. But
No, she's not there. She's not listening. Yeah.
speaking for myself, I don't think we felt that it was difficult.
Okay.
There are always difficult things in marriage, but I think one of the reasons why we've had a very strong marriage is that from the beginning it started out as us as a unit, understanding that there were people who, maybe for whatever reason didn't quite understand why we wanted to get married at all, or why we wanted to get married so young, or they didn't understand our faith, they didn't understand these other things. And so we had to be, from the beginning, communicating. We had to be talking about all of these things, and we've just kept that really for our whole marriage, is that we've always communicated really well.
We pray together every morning and every night.
We always
Pray together every morning, every night.
Yeah.
That's important.
And it's not perfect,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes we, just like every other couple, we have arguments or things like that. But we've always really been very close. And it sounds cliche to say this, but we really have been best friends with each other, as well as husband and wife.
What do you do to enhance the friendship?
We've had some adventures together, like we've just come.
Yeah, like we come to
brought our
come
kids
to,
to Kenya.
Travel together.
Well, yeah. I mean,
And-
even though sometimes work takes us separately, we before we had children, we actually he had been doing in his spare time, which there wasn't much, some mountain search and rescue. He was trained to search and rescue in California, and so he had all this mountaineering training. And so we would go camping on the weekends. So even before we had children, we would go on these adventures. We'd go and sleep. Like Valentine's weekend, the best possible thing we could do is go sleep on top of a mountain and make cowboy coffee in the morning with the sunrise.
So spending more time together. That's what you're
Spending
saying.
time
So
together,
we actually went to the Himalayas for 3 weeks.
Wow.
That was right before then we got pregnant. That was our last big adventure together.
Wow.
But I think that's the thing, is that we spend the time together, and then also, and each couple is different, and sometimes they have different routines and things. But if we're going to watch a show or on the television, we watch it together. If we're going to do things, we've just always done them together as friends.
We host a lot together. We plan dinner parties and we have friends over a lot.
Okay.
We love to host gatherings and bring people together from the community.
That's good.
And we do it together. We plan together. We cook together. And it's like a symbiotic. I don't know. It just works.
Yeah. Spending time together, looking for opportunities to be together.
Yeah,
That's
serving
what you're saying.
together.
Yeah.
Even getting involved in a happy life together.
Yeah.
It would never be something that one of us would do. I mean, and Ted had to travel to Kenya before, and so he knew and loved Kenya already when we first discovered Happy Life.
Yeah.
And he said to me, for some reason, this is just sitting in my heart. Like this is the ministry I want our family to be involved in. And I was like, of course, if that's what you're feeling, then that's what we should do. How should we do this?
Yeah. So when Katrina is involved with something or has an interest, I get involved with it.
Right,
She
with the
does- she
theater,
does
he's
the
always
same thing with
building
me.
sets for me.
I build the sets. I help, if they need musical rehearsals or whatever, I'll help with that.
But getting involved with each other.
With each other's
Yeah.
interests, it's not just like, oh, she has her things and I have my
So
things.
how do you resolve your issues if there's an issue that's come between you and you need it resolved? There's a problem, something you can't handle. How do you resolve that?
We've always just sort of talked about everything
Talking,
from
yeah.
the beginning, and part of that was that when we were initially courting or dating, or however you want to say that, I knew that I had to go back to America, and I knew that we couldn't just sort of have our relationship exist and maybe we get married someday or another. And so we had to talk about things from the beginning. Are we moving towards marriage? What does that look like? How do you want to raise your family? How do I want to raise my family? Are we in agreement about these things?
Yeah.
And so I think we've set a pattern from the beginning of discussing the important things before they become a problem. And so that's mostly been the way that we've done it, which has kept us from having very bad conflict in our relationship. When we do have conflict, we pray, we try to, neither one of us want to spend any time not talking to each other. So, so if we
Especially
get,
Katrina.
if we get angry or we are having some stress and we're not talking, that only goes for a couple hours at the most. And then finally we just can't cope.
Come back.
Just come back together. Yeah.
Who starts the conversation?
It can be either of us.
Can be either.
either of
Okay.
us, yeah.
Whoever feels like starting it. I mean, there are people today who don't believe in marriage, think, it's a burden, it doesn't work. What is it beautiful? Given another chance, you still want to be married? What would you tell young people out there who feel like, today, marriage? No.
It's the ideal. It's God's establishment of how to thrive on this earth. The cleaving together and making a new family.
Yeah.
It's in Genesis, but I know that there is brokenness, and that that people will throw statistics about. Even in the Christian church, there are so many broken families, etc.
Yeah.
Therefore, maybe human beings just aren't meant to be married with each
Yeah.
other. Maybe they're not supposed to be monogamous. No. We always should strive towards an ideal. And the ideal that is established in the Bible is for a man and a woman to cleave together and to form a family. And that is the ideal. And we fall short as a culture, as a world. But he has established that as a plan for us. And
I like
so
that,
I
yeah.
think, just as there are other things that we fall short of, like particular virtues, but it doesn't mean that we don't hold up those virtues
true.
as things
That's
that we
true.
strive for.
Yeah, that's true. It
And-
may not be perfect, but we
Right.
strive for it. Yeah.
And
Yes.
and the sort of base of marriage, when you have a loving relationship, when you support one another, I really think that I have been far more effective in my career and other things because I have that stability and that base of support with my wife.
Wow.
I think Katrina would probably say the same thing, that in all the things that she's done, rather than somehow getting married, limiting her career and limiting these things, it's actually enhanced it because she has a partner, she has somebody who supports her.
He's always
and helps her.
encouraging me to do new things, to spend time with this and that. And I mean, I got my master's degree because he encouraged
Wow.
me to do it.
I like that.
Yeah.
That the base, the foundation of you thriving out there is because you have strong family ties. I like that, the way you put it.
And if the Lord blesses you with children, which of course is a wonderful thing, and it, people have challenges, not everybody gets to have that, but if he does, the family is just a wonderful base to raise the children, and that's something that we hope we would want everybody to be able to experience.
How is it for you raising 3 young kids? I mean, teenagers, youth. How there are people who are watching right now. They're wondering, how do I handle these young people? They have a mind of their own. The generational gap. Anything you can say about that?
Yeah, I think so. There are a lot of things, obviously, and one of the things that we learned very quickly with children, especially having them in a country where we didn't know anybody really, was that you have to have some humility as a parent. Because before we had children, we thought we read all the books.
Yeah.
You know,
We have
and we
plans.
said, and we knew we were going to do this and that,
Parenting.
and we had it
Yeah.
down, and we had the system, and then we had a baby, and we realized that.
Oh, Clara ruined that from the
Yeah,
beginning because she had very bad
Yeah.
colic, and she was.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't sleep for 2 years.
But
Wow.
so none of our systems work.
Now you can
right?
sleep.
Yeah. Now we can. But now we have other things that keep you
Yeah,
up.
no, we stay up
I know.
doing other things.
But so we thought we had it figured out, and we didn't. And so
didn't.
we had to survive. We had to figure out, okay, how does this baby is a little person, and she has a personality, and she has needs and wants, and how are we going to fulfill this? And so we realized that all of the expert advice and everything is good, but you have to take it with a pinch of salt because because it's a relationship, it's not a system.
Yeah.
And we learned that when our children were infants, but we've really had to keep learning that as they've grown through every stage. So
Okay.
there just isn't a set. There isn't. The Bible gives great guidance, but there isn't a man-made rule book of
That's
things
true.
that you can do.
Not even a set system of discipline. Okay, the child did this, so I'm going to apply this. No, in a relationship,
It's not a copy and paste. Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
You have to reach into the heart of your child, and it might look different every time they fall short.
And with each child.
And when we fall short, when we get angry, or
Yeah, so I think the communication that
Yeah.
I talked about with our marriage, we've always tried to do that with our children as well. Now it's different because sometimes there's a temptation to want to be best friends with your children.
Yeah.
And we don't, we have tried to avoid that. We always tried to maintain that parent relationship, but we've always sought to communicate with our children and talk to them. And if I didn't know something, I would tell her this is what I'm doing because I think this is what's best for you. But I don't know, but I've been alive longer and with more experience. And so this is what we're going to do, right? So even if they're like, Dad, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I say, well, my responsibility from God is to make this decision for you. So I'm going to make this decision. I hope it's right. And then in those cases where it wasn't the right decision, we just try to be honest and say, yeah, I didn't,
Wow, I like that. I like that. Now, in closing, our time is almost out. What brought you to Kenya?
Well, like Katrina said, I had my previous work. I traveled a lot, and I had come through Kenya and other parts of Africa, and I just felt there was just a connection in my heart with the people of Kenya, and I loved the country, and.
well, and then
And I had always said I wanted to bring Katrina and the girls back.
Yeah.
And so while I was actually over here, Katrina had heard about Happy Life.
yeah, my one of my best friends, her brother is actually Jesse K.
Okay.
The Jesse K for whom the hospital is
Yeah.
named, and so she lost him from leukemia when he was 16.
Yeah.
And he was a brave soul, and she talks still about her brother with so much love, and it just I can't tell you how much it means to her. I sent her some pictures of your van with the Jesse K Hospital, just with his name being lifted up and then really up in the name of the Lord, because he had a very mature heart for the Lord. I know that her family shared with me that so I think he's smiling down from heaven and seeing the work, and so we started going to these Christmas fundraisers, and it was through those fundraisers that we met you and Faith, and the idea of bringing our children and just kind of trying to be more a part of what you're doing has grown from that.
Wow.
And
Where would you say this heart, like your heart of wanting to help and supporting, like the needy children at Happy Life Children's Home? How did that begin? Not everybody does that. Where did you say this came about?
it's difficult to say where the initial seed was planted, but I think me being here and then communicating to Katrina and to my family about this, I just felt a connection with it and with the people, and then the way that the Lord works. And I think this is a discussion we could have for many hours, but God never gives you the roadmap. you wish he would show you the whole Google Maps
All the way.
route, all the way.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He he gives you a little bit of light. Go over here.
Yeah.
And you say, well, where am I going? No, don't worry about that. Just go over here. So you do, and then you're there for a while, and then he gives you a little more light. And so that route gets illuminated step by step. And I've really felt that was the way that it was here, is that we felt a connection to Kenya. Katrina found out about the Happy Life Mission and all of the things that you're doing with the hospital, with the children's home.
Yeah.
And so we got involved. And one of the things that, maybe because of my background, and all the other influences that we've had, but we really felt like this was just something we wanted to pour our time and our resources into. And on a practical basis, there are many wonderful charities out there. In the U.S., there are many things that we are involved with and that we can be involved with. And I'm sure here in Kenya and other places around the world. But we felt that Happy Life, because we knew you, we knew the other people in America who have been involved.
Trusted relationship.
And we have seen that the resources that people give to Happy Life, they go directly to the children and to the needs of the hospital for the children that are rescued and that are being educated. And so Christian education in America is something we're both involved with. We're both on boards of directors of Christian schools. And we've just felt that this was the place where we could make the most impact with the resources that we have. And having been here now and having seen everything that's going on, we feel even more strongly that everything's being used really well. So.
Thank you for your heart, for your wanting to help. What is your closing word, if you have?
I would like to give thanks to you and to the Lord for our being here and being able to take part in the kingdom work that's happening, and for our minds and hearts to be open to other corners of the world where the kingdom is growing and the Lord is at work, and just every baby that's rescued is praise.
Amen. Amen. Praise the Lord. Any closing word?
Yeah, I would say that something that we've known, having somewhat of an international relationship ourselves in our marriage, but it's wonderful that even though it's only been a few years that we've known each other, even though we're here and we've met all sorts of people while we've been here, we're all part of one family because we're part of God's family. And so we're all, brothers and sisters. And when we can spend time here with everyone, it just drives that home. It's been a wonderful experience. Been a wonderful experience for our children as well, who aren't on the program. Maybe someday, you can talk to them too. But it's just it's wonderful how God brings his family together from all over the world.
One big family, international family.
Unity.
So,
to do the things that we're meant to do, which is
true.
Share the gospel, take care of the fatherless, and the widows, and to do the work that he wants us to do.
Praise the Lord. Have you enjoyed our food?
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Any favorites? Anything you have liked?
Well, I traveled all over the world before this, but the goat, especially for me, is a meat that we don't get regularly in America.
The goat, yeah.
You have to find it, and so when you have a stew with the goat, the rich stew and everything, I just love that.
I love the peas, the freshly picked peas, and cooked in the tomato with the chapati.
Chapati. I like chapati. It's a favorite for most.
Yeah.
So.
And the Kenyan coffee, of course, which is my favorite.
Yeah,
so.
We have Happy Life coffee.
Yeah,
we have had some in the past, and we're going to take some home with us.
We're gonna,
become very popular. You take 1 cup in the morning, you're happy the whole day.
Maybe 2 cups. Anyway.
All right. Wow. We can talk more and share more, but our time is out. Thank you, Ted and Katrina, for allowing yourself just to be used by the Lord. I'm sure there are people that have listened to your story, though coming from a different culture, and they'll be encouraged and they'll be helped to move even a step further, whether it's adoption, whether it's family, raising kids, ministry, helping the weak and the poor. I mean, all those areas that you have touched, or being a teacher, and all that. So I thank you and come again, bring more people, come and see us, and we'll love to see you come back to Kenya. Thank you. That's all we have for today. Well, It's been exciting. Thank you so much for joining us. We keep bringing you these wonderful, wonderful people from all over the world so that you can hear what God is doing. And I like what they said, we are all one big family of God. No matter the color, no matter the culture, the background, we belong to one kingdom and one family. For now, God bless you and have a good night. Thank you.